It is time, ladies and gentlemen. Tornado.ROX are going to be taking on Gatekeepers for the pleasure of facing Rogue, but the stakes will be high because that is a ticket to Atlanta, potentially waiting for one of these teams. For now, though, we see which one of them can come out on top, and the first map will be the tried and tested King's Row.
That's right. King's Row, of course, is we actually have been calling it El Clasico for like 4 months already because it was essentially kind of the first payload map available to play on, and it's just the most commonly played. It was back from a time when one hero limit was not in play. You had multiple soldiers, multiple McCrees, multiple Pharaohs. Widowmaker used to just rain terror on this map on both sides.
Six Hanzo, man.
Defense. But the game has evolved so much. You can see these very common strategies now, and the defense for ROX will be incredibly common. This is actually the dream team, I'll say, the fantastic six that always get pulled out on these first King's Row defenses.
Very, very standard competition coming out from them, and they're actually collapsing in on Gatekeepers. They actually managed to get both of the tanks very early on, pardon me, 3, because it is a triple tank composition. The Gatekeepers are running out of the gate here, not quite able to make anything work so far. And really, Tornado.ROX haven't been tested yet, and they're building a decent amount of ult as well. Yeah,
the first attack fell so flat, they couldn't even get through the choke, really, and that's a testament to the great positioning from Tornado.ROX. Gatekeepers actually running a triple tank composition is becoming more common here, but I still think that, in my opinion, 2-2-2 seems to be the way to go. It seems to have obviously not as much staying power, but you have to break through this defense somehow, and triple tank can be very tough to do that before you have ultimates available.
It's a very slow, very steady push, which works if you just keep pushing them back and grabbing 1 or 2 kills. We haven't seen them get the picks they would like, though. They have got time to do that, and coming around the back, trying to make something count. 99%, he's now got his Death Blossom available. Is he going to move in?
Yeah.
He is, but I think Transcendence was triggered just before then as well. Gatekeepers still managing to stay alive just about, and even without Reaper doing the damage, it looks like they're getting pushed back.
Well, Aki and Shozi both fell to Grape, who actually, the sequence of everything there was very interesting. You had the Transcendence, then you had the Death Blossom. The Death Blossom, or sorry, excuse me, you just had Reaper moving around the backside and distracting them with the Wraith Walk. Then the Reinhardt charge actually came in and opened up the fight completely. That's when things kind of started falling apart for the offense. We've got Lolly here with the Deadeye available. He was playing some Hanzo here this time yesterday against Rogue, but didn't work out for them obviously too much then either. McCree trying to get some shots here on Reaper, might be able to find the kill, and he does on Aang. We've got a Transcendence and Graviton Surge on the point. Looks like the tanks alone are actually getting the bulk of the damage, but Nalar falls, and this could be an opportunity for Gatekeepers to press the advantage.
They're moving on in now. That's actually 2 kills now, 2 deaths rather, from Aang in a rather vulnerable position. Claws coming in to try and clean up. Decent Earthshatter getting 2 of them onto the point, and Tornado.ROX are slowly but surely trying their best to hold here, but Lucio now being left. I mean, this isn't exactly the biggest amount of staying power, but I think they can just about do it.
Grape and Aang actually put out a ton of damage there as the Zarya Reaper combo just shielding at the proper times. Everything looked good from Grape there, sticking to the Zarya this time around rather than a Genji, which we sometimes see him play, and he's just melting down that Reinhardt, or sorry, Roadhog, almost at full charge, has the Graviton Surge available, can basically wait. That's almost 20 seconds just burned off just by finishing off that Roadhog. So good play there by Grape. He's got a Graviton Surge left for their next push. Everything looking good for Tornado.ROX. Tonic also very close to having that Sound Barrier as well as Mistakes, already having Transcendence.
Now the ultimates, well, they are looking pretty good for Tornado.ROX right now. Still Aang very close to another Death Blossom. Wasn't able to make it count first time around, but I'm sure he's going to try and be sneaky and see if he can make this second one count. Oh, and an initial pickoff on Claws is actually pretty big for Gatekeepers here. Lally on top of the point with Deadeye, trying to move on, and he gets the headshot off onto Grape, and Tonic goes down as well. This is going to be Tornado's opportunity.
That was very interesting. I think that after the Graviton Surge, they should have used Transcendence or Sound Barrier right away, and they didn't. Tonic actually died very, very close to his ultimate. Actually, I think he had his ultimate when he went down. Mistakes pop Transcendence is almost a desperation play, but Gatekeepers have finally done it here. They have captured A, but they do not have very much time to get through the streets phase. 3.5 minutes seems like a lot, but honestly, you get choked up quite a bit in the streets, especially in that narrow choke halfway point where you see Claws standing right now and at the checkpoint itself.
It's all about what the compositions and how mobile the compositions are, to be honest, because if teams are constantly looking for flanks left, right, and center, and some of those flanks start working, you have to be careful. You you can't just push the payload and be oblivious. Reapers can pop out of nowhere. You can see Deadeyes if you're not careful on the flank. Here we go, though. Transcendence and Sound Barrier both coming down. It's worth noting that the Sound Barrier from Tornado.ROX here more or less gets drowned out by Transcendence on the other side. So both sides using one of their support ults, and it looks like tanks are getting dragged in. Reinhardt going to be moving straight on back, and that isn't going to do him any favors.
Interesting that Sherry Dormy's actually staying on this Roadhog. That pick obviously worked out for them as they're going to continue moving forward. Another great hook. Never mind, I'm just going to bite my tongue on that one. Usually Reaper actually gets swapped to in this phase just for that mobility that you were talking about. They're sticking with the triple tank and the McCree as the lone offense. He's off on his own fighting that Zenyatta, but Sherry Dormy working out great on the Roadhog.
His hooks have actually been very, very accurate. More importantly, he's continuously kept mobile. We're talking about how heroes need to be more mobile and why they get swapped off on this phase. Ooh, dear, as Lally gets a face transfer coming out from Eng. He's now moving in, trying to pick off. It gets a double as well. Not able to quite finish off with a triple or quad. He wasn't looking just for two. He wanted a little bit more there, but that's going to be more than enough to push the team down.
Totally, yeah. A totally acceptable kill there. He actually killed Lolly before even triggering the Death Blossom. The fact that he forced them back and got the Roadhog snag means that the offense will have a long walk back, and that's, again, another point against Roadhog. He's the slowest friggin' character. He has nothing to help him return to battle. Reaper can at least teleport long distances. Wraithwalk actually gives you a little bit of a speed bump. Nalar there, a great flash onto McCree during the high noon. Lolly actually lost his ultimate, so it looks like he did pull the trigger and didn't get anything for it.
Tornado.ROX now pushing everybody back. Gatekeeper's going all the way back to spawn, and that's 3 kills on the run, and they're staggered as well from Tornado.ROX. So waking up just before the second checkpoint, and Gatekeepers find themselves now very, very pushed back.
Nalar, the superstar, mowing them down one shot at a time. They were all in low health retreating, and Nalar said, not today, you're going to just join your team. A little bit later, 15 seconds or so to respawn and get back, but now we have a Deadeye coming out thanks to all those kills earlier. Earthshatter negates it. There's a charge actually killing Nalar. Great pick by Aki. Sherry Dormy getting a pick on the Zenyatta, also going to help them out quite a bit. The Sound Barrier's out, giving them high health, but Aang is unchecked. He gets the Roadhog from behind now, focusing on Babinski, probably going to get him as well with that melee. He's got a Death Blossom. He doesn't need to use it. Please don't use it, Aang. Even though it's a juicy looking target there with the Reinhardt and Zarya with their backs turned, you really need to save that Death Blossom for tons and tons of damage on the entire group, especially if you can combo a Grape's Graviton Surge soon.
Aki managing to get the kill, but he actually went down very, very low in the process and couldn't continue to be the spear of the team here. So this is going to allow Tornado.ROX to reset their defense. You can see the payload now technically moving, reversing very slowly back through the street right now. Only 30 seconds left for Gatekeepers. This attack more or less has to be now or never, but they are fighting 2 ultimates against 4 right now, and Tornado.ROX have had time to prepare as well. They're behind the shield from Claw. That's an excellent Graviton Surge. Can we get the follow-up from Great? Both sides actually defending. Transcendence getting triggered. Gatekeepers stay alive. Great reaction there, but here comes Aang over the top. No, he gets shut down.
Aang, they were waiting for that Death Blossom. So many of them died while he had it up. They knew. I mean, sure, they knew that the Death Blossom was coming. Great reaction time. Even after all of the Graviton Surges and the Transcendences came out, Death Blossom was shut down. But the defense holds, and that is going to be actually a really good hold overall for Tornado.ROX. Things looked pretty good for them even on point A, but the 3.5 minutes to get through the Streets phase was just not enough for Gatekeepers to keep it going, despite some really good kills.
A lot of the action at the end as well really was Nalar. We were talking about Aang and the Death Blossom and how he gets picked off very quickly. Gatekeepers are watching out for that. Nalar was kind of like, okay, now that all this action has happened, I can just start clicking your heads, right?
Excellent.
And that's exactly what he did. He ended up with 4 kills, not all at the same time, but by the end of that engagement, he had done the covering fire damage needed to bring the team to victory here. So now we're going to see if Gatekeepers can defend against what was an incredibly strong hold in the first half.
Yeah, and again, quite evenly matched teams can actually both full hold. We still don't really know if Gatekeepers are going to be able to replicate that performance. I think Nalar had a hot hand there, but he's actually playing the offensive Tracer this time around, not on McCree, and Grape is going to switch off Zarya, let Claws take that duty instead of the Reinhardt. This is very interesting, actually, because Reinhardt is a very typical grade A tank for payload maps. Capturing the point, you can switch it up a little bit, Dale. Gang on the Winston, most likely going to be driving the action here out the gate.
Precisely. When we have a Reinhardt-less composition like we do here, we're looking for those quick engages. We're looking for when Aang is going to be jumping in over the top to try and start a very, very fast engagement. And Gatekeepers here, they're going to have to be on their toes. I'm sure they faced this before as well. So I'm very eager to see what kind of strategies they have. Mistakes actually switching onto Widowmaker, maybe for a little bit of covering fire. But I suspect, yeah, he's going to be switching off shortly.
He is their healer. Typically, he's their Zenyatta, so it's going to be rough without a Zen. I think Hanzo can do the job of just shooting the sonar arrow, trying to get everything revealed around the corner.
Where's Michael 3D? We need our Mei.
There's a triple tank defense here for Gatekeepers. Not switching it up at all, except for Lolly going from McCree to Reaper. It's kind of interesting. Reaper is a great offensive character to use, but triple tank still, it didn't work out super great on offense, so I hope that it does here on D.
Keep an eye out for Leap now coming out from Eng. They're going to be moving out around, and it looks like there's a flank of 2 coming in around the back of the hotel. Leaping in very quickly indeed, and the bubble gets down without him losing much in the way of hit points at all. The entirety of Gatekeepers get pushed back. The flank is coming through as well. Claws, though, an early casualty of this, and Gatekeepers, most importantly, do not have position anymore. Tornado.ROX can now defend from a position where they are absolute favorites to just clean one and done.
Crushing it here on point A, and the Lar staying alive the entire time. You got Grape showing up in the kill feed as well. Genji doing his job as needed. Winston, you saw the strength of the engage with the Winston there versus the Reinhardt. He was able to jump on them knowing they were going to be crowded around behind the hotel. That splash damage from Winston does full damage to everybody he catches, so the fact that he was able to zap down that Zenyatta incredibly quickly allowed everyone else to just rush the point.
And the flank comes in at the right time as well, because so often you see teams where they go, oh, we can do that. Winston jumps in, and everyone has time to get their bearings and focus him down. He dies before the flank gets there, and everyone shrugs and goes, what? It wasn't like that at all. Eng did a really good job, but the team also rallied behind him very well.
Yeah, I think Tornado.ROX drew their fire. I think Claws just shielding someone, saying, hey, shoot this guy, while Winston jumps directly onto. I think that prevented Winston from just getting melted. Here's Grape with the Dragon Blade. Gets pinned immediately. Great counter, but he stays alive. What happened there? How did he not die? He dashed through it or something. I don't know what happened there. He should have been dead by all rights with that pin. But Grape just bouncing back. I don't think you can dash out of a pin. That's like impossible.
No, he got pinned, didn't die, and then dashed out after the charge was complete there.
But there was no transcendence, there was no sound barrier. How did he? I have no idea how he lived. It must have just been
not sure.
Distance? He didn't even, the Reinhardt didn't even die. Maybe he got flashed. That's, no?
I'm pretty sure I saw him hit the wall. I think I saw him hit the wall.
I have no idea.
I can't explain
He lived with 200 health. He didn't even take any damage.
Not really sure there, but we'll take a look at that a little bit later on. In the meantime, though, oh my goodness. That was...
After that pin and Genji still being able to reign Justice, or sorry, he's not Justice affiliate. That's Farah and McCree, but game number 1 is over now.
Reign Justice? Honor, maybe.
Yeah, Honor, yes.
Dispense Honor.
Genji dispensed Honor all over the defense there, despite being pinned. That's like a miracle play. I don't know what happened, but they definitely cleaned up afterwards. See, here's the pin. What happened? There's no stun.
It's fine.
There's no Anasleep. There's no, I don't know.
He's
maybe
like,
distance?
What's up, bro? Yeah. I'm Genji.
Yeah, Genji's like, I'm not getting pinned today. Sorry, they haven't nerfed me yet.
Not interested.
But yeah, really good stuff there from Tornado.ROX. And this is the strength that we're used to seeing from them. They took games off of FaZe when they were reunited just a couple of weeks ago. So I knew that they had it in them.
Let's not take away, I guess, from the fantastic performance that we saw at the beginning as well. A lot of delay on the first point in the first half of the map, and then very quick one and done. And actually, there were 2 team fights in a row where Tornado.ROX absolutely steamrolled through just at the end there to finish the map. So yes, there was a little bit of back and forth between the first checkpoint and the last couple of team fights, but we're talking like a minute's worth of delay there. That was pretty painful, I have to say. And as a result, I'd be a little bit surprised if we didn't first go King of the Hill.
I'm just imagining that Pin killing Genji with his sword out and how bad it would feel for the attacking team there. Tornado.ROX, totally different fight if that happens.
It's true.
Still blowing my mind. It's very rare that you see something like that actually happen. It had to be distance, I guess, is the only thing, because Reinhardt's charge is not unlimited. There is actually a stop distance to it, but I thought it was much longer than that. Street is not that long.
There's no other explanation.
That's the only thing I can come up with. There was no CC available. So either way, we do have Nepal actually as our second map. So Numbani.
No, Numbani.
I misspoke. My bad. Numbani is going to be the.
I mean, we were expecting
map.
it. Yeah. So interesting. I mean, at the end of the day, of course, if you're in a position where you have to win both remaining maps, you're going to have to go there anyway.
Yep,
but maybe this is Gatekeepers saying, well, look, we had a poor King's Row, but we know we're more comfortable on payload maps, and we know that we have the mechanical ability to take the fight to ROX here, and as a result, they're going to reset themselves and say, no, we're going to beat them at their own game. The advantage of doing things this way is that if they do win, it's a really massive confidence boost and good momentum going into the final map. The disadvantage is, of course, if you just get stomped, you might get stomped again. So they need to change things up, and they need to work out how they're going to be adjusting themselves to approach this map.
Yeah, and Numbani does play out much differently than Kings Row. It's basically, I would say, almost an inverse, where high ground is taken into account so much on this first point, whereas Kings Row very rarely is high ground come into play at all. I remember there was a time where Harry Hook, for example, would play Soldier always on Kings Row A from the window or from the ledge, but now that's, you know, Soldier's kind of out of the meta a bit. Widowmaker used to always camp on those ledges. Widow's too easy to kill now, so basically the verticality is a non-factor on point A, where here you can see the defense setting up already just all over the place. We've got the offense typically going with either a D.Va or a Winston or both from time to time. Roadhog is actually becoming more common if you can grab a hook onto a defense member from the top ledge. I did see you smirking at the May.
It was a good dance. It was a good dance. I liked it. 7.5 out of 10, at least.
All right, so compositions looking for defense. We've got triple tank again. Gatekeepers are not shaking off of this. Lolly's bouncing between Reaper and McCree, but basically just sticking to their guns. Tornado.ROX, after winning that game so heavily and so dominantly, I'm a little surprised the Gatekeepers are not trying to mix it up.
Yeah, they will have the longevity in the fights, but will they be able to get the damage done to take this all the way to Tornado.ROX? That's really what they're going to need right now. And two of them going down very early on, and oh no, this could end up being another one and done if they don't reverse their fortunes very quickly. Looking, though, for the turnabout. They managed to find a couple, and
that was another end of a pin where Genji just bounced off, because that one definitely was the distance. That's a much longer street, I think,
there was no question there.
It's still funny to see it twice in a row like that, where Aki's trying to get rid of this Genji and just can't. But the point is going to be captured very quickly.
You must be thinking, what do I have to do?
Seriously, someone put up a May wall behind him or something so I can get a pin once in my life.
I know, right? Oh, he manages to, well, he doesn't manage to, maybe we'll see a pin. If we see a successful pin on Genji later on in the map, we can only imagine Aki fist pumping, going, finally!
All right, so the payload's moving now. You will see them give a lot of space. Usually, if they have time to set up, it's going to be around the first corner. You do not want to give the enemy too much line of sight to just tear into your defense before you're even all prepared. Now everyone is ready, so we should see a bloodbath. Nalar waiting patiently with the pulse bomb very near. Oh, but the hook onto Zarya kind of disrupts the plan a bit. Winston Shield coming in to try and protect Tracer just to get the pulse bomb off. Rafe going crazy with the blade, but only 13 health. One more blast from Cherry takes him out, and getting extremely low, and defense should hang on here quite easily.
That was actually quite well played there from Gatekeepers, managing to mitigate the damage from the Pulse Bomb, using the Winston bubble, and then turning around and making sure that they can get those picks off one by one. Great idea from Nalar, but Gatekeepers were definitely prepared in that situation, and Tornado.ROX now are going to have to reset and come up here with, well, I don't think they're going to be switching to Plan B just yet, but certainly that was a convincing defense.
Actually, the Winston Shield was on the side of Tracer to protect Tracer, I think.
Oh, pardon me, yeah.
And to drop the bomb, yeah. But either way, we do have Shozi with the Graviton Surge available. This could be an easy hold. This Lolly gets a triple kill. Not sure exactly what was going on there, but I imagine many headshots. There's a fourth and a fifth, getting a piece of almost everybody.
Goodness.
That's a full team wipe. Great stuff from Gatekeepers, finally showing some signs of life, and it's all at the hands of Lolly. Of course, if the rest of your team isn't making mistakes, McCree gets the freedom to do that.
It's also very important as well, because with the triple tank composition, you are basically the main DPS player. Yeah. You need to step up and you need to show up in situations like that. So Lolly now showing us why he's been given that responsibility from his team as we move into the third team fight on this street space. Tornado.ROX still looking to push, but right now Gatekeepers, their defense was looking good.
Sound barrier for the offense gives them a lot of room to play with, but sound barrier on the defense on these tanks is going to be very difficult to burst through, especially losing, Nalar, Aang, and Grape all going down. 2 DPS there, actually falling. I misspoke again. Offense and defense, man, it's so crazy. Anyway, Sherry Dormy staying alive there with the rest of the team actually showing up. Tornado is going to have to reset. They've got multiple ultimates to work with, but the most important, I think, is going to be the Transcendence on either side.
The way this match is shaping up now is so interesting. We were talking about how Gatekeepers needed to switch things up, or at least needed to reset themselves, and at the moment they're doing incredibly well. Lally, oh, he was looking for the flank, but Genji has spotted him, and he gets absolutely taken out of the sky by Nalar. He's not having any of that, and that means there's no Deadeye available for him as well. We now have Transcendence coming up from Mistake. Tornado.ROX looking to come in and try and kill everyone off, managing to get the first kill off on the support. Now both teams trading kills. Primal Rage being engaged now from Eng, and it's absolutely, I mean, they're all over the place on top of the point, but these one-on-one engagements are favoring those DPS players, and the LAR getting a couple of kills at the end as well.
And it did end up actually being the Transcendence timing, I think, on both sides, actually allowing allowing Tornado.ROX to actually get the distance they needed to secure that checkpoint. The initiation was great. We saw Grape take advantage of it with that Genji sword during the Transcendence. Even though he didn't get a ton of mileage on it, killing Lucio immediately is what swung the battle. And Nalar here, again, a very good source of damage for Tornado.ROX. We'll see if Gatekeepers can try to shut him down. Lolly still the only DPS, even though we're on the last stretch here. Charge is going to initiate the battle. Nalar gets a flash and fan, and it looks like the defense is actually scooping all the kills. Lolly is flanked all the way around, is getting free shots on everyone. Again, great McCree play from Lolly.
Lolly does not care at this point. He is doing incredibly well. The Honey Badger role on Gatekeepers is being comfortably filled here, and I'm really glad that we're seeing him come into his own. Now, Tornado.ROX are going to have a little bit more of a difficult time if Lolly can keep this momentum up for the rest of this map. They still have 4 minutes, to be fair to them. This isn't exactly panic territory yet, but the ults are building nicely. They're working well together as a team, and Lolly is being very well supported.
I do remember Lolly yesterday now on Dorado being the flanking McCree and being the sneaky McCree against Rogue. It didn't work out so well for him half the time. I was going to be critical of him a little bit earlier when he died to that Deadeye on the second story there, but he's flanking and it's working. There's a Graviton Surge here to now get everything initiated. Earth Shatter to counter.
And the Claws now trying to move in. Wow, we have the counter Earth Shatter here as well. Shozi trying to get a little bit of damage in the meantime, but Transcendence coming down now from Tornado.ROX a little bit later, allowing the team to try and push on in. It's 5 versus 3, and Fuhor grabbing 2 kills off the end of that is going to push Gatekeepers all the way back. We're now moving through the final bend, and Tornado.ROX are looking to complete the map.
Very Dormy waiting not to be exposed too soon. There is the whole hog, but yeah, Discord makes very quick work of him. Nalar already on top of everything as the Tracer, and they're going mass tanks. D.Va is out now as well. Lolly has swapped to the Tracer just to be able to contest a little bit more, but no one is dying on the side of the offense. Tornado.ROX should look to clean this up easily, and that is about a 6-minute time. Respectable time, and I think that the majority of the fights definitely went Tornado.ROX's way, except for when Lolly was on fire.
Yeah, Lolly had 2 or 3 absolutely exceptional engagements, and it wasn't just the Deadeyes as well. Look at this follow-up. I mean, very, very calmly rolling away and finishing off Claws there. And it felt like he had a couple of great moments of brilliance, and more importantly, the team were rallying behind him, and the support that he actually got so that no one else was shooting at him while he was busy executing these plays. It was just very good from Gatekeepers, but it's not enough to stop the force right here that is Tornado.ROX.
It was very interesting. I'm trying to remember the point A, the way it played out. I believe the defense all piled onto the point, but they lost Roadhog incredibly quickly, and from then it just kind of tumbled out of their control. It was a 50-second capture on point A, so if they can try to also match that and get that first push capture, I think they do have a decent enough chance of trying to beat that 6-minute time. That's right around average territory. I would say 6 minutes to 7 minutes is average. Anything slower than that is relatively slow. Anything faster than that can be quite tough. So 5:56 is our official time to beat. Let's take a look at this defense setting up now for Tornado.ROX.
So Eng once again is going to be playing Winston. No surprises there. Nalar this time will be trying to sneak around on a Tracer. Very eager to see if there's going to be some shenanigans around the side of the spawn point there. He's pushing Grape off the top. That's funny. And Grape, of course, he's going to be playing Genji, always like an eagle pushing a goat. Mistakes once again on Zenyatta. And Claus is actually going to be on a D.Va. So just a little bit of a switch up for the first point here. We don't see Claus on D.Va quite as often, but of course with that defensive matrix can be very, very useful.
I like the gymnastics Grape is showing us there, but yeah, I think that was the most accurate representation of an eagle throwing a goat off a cliff. It was just basically
pretty slow,
nudging him until he fell to his death, but he stayed alive, of course. There's no friendly fire in this game.
No.
4 minutes now for the Gatekeepers to basically exit the gate and now try to beat that time of 6 minutes. Shozi on the Genji starting off, Lolly on that McCree. He's been doing so well there, no reason to switch that up, but this is the first time that they have not had triple tank.
Yes, exactly. They're going to be moving out just a little bit differently here. Lolly going to be joined by Shozi to try and get some damage done early on. Shozi very low health to start off with though, and Zenyatta and Genji both going down in the blink of an eye for them. Cannot possibly be the game plan they were trying to execute here, and Eng and Nalar combining now to absolutely bring the pain onto Gatekeepers. This is not how they saw this fight starting out, and Cherry Domi actually staying behind for a little bit of a pep talk.
I think Nalar actually had a lot of freedom there. No one knew that there was going to be a Tracer, of course. And you basically have to attack in and just hope for the best. They're not making any switch. Oh, no, Lolly actually off of McCree's onto the Reaper. I said there was no reason to change it. Apparently they disagree. Lolly on the Reaper. Shozy now off of the Genji onto McCree. So they feel like the extra firepower is going to help them get through the Genji and the Tracer.
Let's see if they can do that now, because they're rushing in and they're basically right on top of the point, showing absolutely no restraint, just trying to get in and deal the damage as quickly as possible. They can't get through Grape's Shadow Blade, though, unfortunately. He goes ahead and grabs a couple of kills, and it's only going to be D.Va contesting the point with an orb in front of her. That is not going to be ideal at all. Babinski leads to his death, and that is going to be that.
That's funny you called it a Shadow Blade just now, because that's what I wrote in my notes for Shadowburn's Dragon Blades.
Oh, yeah!
Shadow Blade.
I must have been listening out back going, Shadow Blade, Shadow Blade. Yeah, you're right.
So Grape pulling a Shadowburn there and actually just going wild there on defense. Good stuff. 4 minutes and 14 seconds for the entire map, but they're actually working against the objective clock at the top of your screen. 2 minutes and 12 seconds just to try to capture point A. Has not been going too well for them so far. Nalar having free reign and Grape getting that great ultimate earlier.
Oh, and hang on a second. We have the D.Va ultimate coming in. Are we going to see a couple of kills off the explosion? No, they managed to get out of the way in time. Sound Barrier managing to do so much for them there. Now Claus is trying to come and do a little bit of the same himself. He moves down. It's right in front of the Reinhardt shield, getting into another mech. All 12 players currently alive, but Shozy, of course, back at spawn.
Good move by the attacking team to not die to that D.Va ult. It was way in the sky. They had no real idea where it was going to land, but they managed to position themselves well enough to stay alive, and that actually means that the dominoes are starting to fall in their favor. Lolly finally getting the kills that he's looking for as Reaper. He does have a Death Blossom still available there. He finally uses it to try and clean things up. Grape is going to go down. Mistake's going to go down. There is not a ton of time here still, though. Even if they do capture A, if you imagine the fastest possible time of each payload stretch should be about 45 seconds, they can really only afford 1 or 2 wipes before losing this map.
I think you hit the nail on the head there, Josh. They really, I mean, they might be able to reset once and still make the time, but realistically reset twice, and it's not possible with any amount of decent delay.
It would have to be a trickle offense at that point, basically switching off onto the faster characters to try and get a faster attack. But
exactly.
Obviously, in this first stretch, again, not going to be contested right away. Defense does need some time to return, and they want to position themselves safely, so the bus corner is going to be the most typical spot for that to happen, and that is where they're going to set up. Shozy has Deadeye. He's going to immediately try to use it, but he gets pinned, so he's going to lose half of that ultimate right off the bat. Everything Transcendence now coming out for this defense, trying to keep everyone alive. Sherry Dormy getting a kill on Nalar, and things are stacking up for the offense, actually, quite favorably.
Yeah, D.Va actually doing a very good job of zoning Zenyatta out of the fight entirely there. And now Lally moving into his own. Of course, maybe, you know, the first appearance on Reaper didn't look all that convincing. He did get wiped very quickly. But now, as he shows us the ability he has when he actually gets up into his opponent's face, his positioning has been all right. And he's been managing to get the damage in that has been pushing Tornado.ROX back. But 2 minutes left now for them to complete the map. Don't forget, overtime doesn't matter here. They need to be able to do it very quickly to prevent the other team from just straight up winning. Tornado.ROX playing for all the marbles so that they can go up against Rogue. Both teams now skirmishing around the point, trying to get those individual picks off, but Mither managing to get double, and that's a double as well from Aki to stack on top of it. That is 4 from the Gatekeepers. Tornado.ROX are in trouble.
Interesting that the switches from McCree to Reaper, and then from Genji to McCree, even just handing the McCree over to his teammate Shozy, is actually working out for them quite well. Aki showing some great tank play there as Reinhardt finally finishing off Aang and securing that checkpoint. So again, assume about 45 seconds is the fastest possible. They get 1 wipe only to try and make this happen. They cannot afford to die here. They have to basically bulldoze straight through. Lolly showing the golden Reaper shotguns. Maybe McCree wasn't his main at all. It's just been Reaper this whole time. He's just been, you know, taking it easy.
Maybe. And now we move around one of the final doglegs, and I like how they actually move back into the archway as well as they saw that high noon coming on in. Aki being very, very cautious, telling the team to fall back, and now they move on through. There are fewer ultimates now on the side of Tornado.ROX. Here comes Aang, though, with the Graviton Surge. They're looking for the DPS follow-up. The shield is still up as far as Reinhardt is concerned. Sound Barrier is coming down as well, and Aki once again grabbing a double to start things off. 45 seconds left to go, and so far, Gatekeepers are doing all right, but the payload still has quite some distance to go. It might not necessarily be winning, but they just need to stall.
The trickle defense is going to be real here. I think we're going to see D.Va and most likely Tracer come out, possibly even a Mei, because they are only battling against that 30-second stretch now. Even though ultimates are coming out now, D.Va doesn't get anything for it. We saw a great ultimate, actually, the Dragon Blade, when both Transcendences were going on, didn't get any mileage. He has it built up already again. again, just trying to get these huge targets off the payload, or at least stay alive long enough to stall them. And I think this is basically a done deal now. Only 12 seconds. They were able to contest for so long, and that's largely in part here to Grape's Genji.
Excellent Graviton Surge and DPS follow-up is basically going to leave them with sub 10 seconds, and they're going to have to respawn and go in as well. It will not be enough time. GGs are called out, and Tornado.ROX, by a scoreline of 2-0, will earn themselves, well, a best of 3 against Rogue, but that is for the tickets to Atlanta. And they massively high stakes.
They didn't play Rogue yesterday. They played FaZe, so that's a possibility that they're going to find some different advantage against an incredibly strong team. I'm not sure. It's going to be still a tough match for Tornado.ROX.
If there ever is a time where you just dig deep and say, right, we have to play our absolute best game no matter what, this is the time of our lives to play, this is going to be that time for Tornado.ROX. Does that make them favorites against Rogue? Of course it doesn't. But they will be in that position where they will have that opportunity and they will be trying to play out of their minds. And that's often when you start to see those really cool underdog stories in Overwatch. So we'll be looking for a good match. Guys, how did you guys find that?
I thought that was very exciting. Now, ZP and I, we had a little more to talk about this time. We got to see a little more play from both Tornado.ROX and Gatekeepers. So right off the bat, I mean, what was the biggest thing you saw on our first map on Kings Row?
First map, the biggest thing in general, to mention the biggest thing would just be Buho. Buho came out and had an incredible game. He had great plays as Zarya all throughout and was a big reason why I went through there. In fact, you look at it, he was showing up the kill feed the most. He probably had most damage to go along with it. He had a huge showing. And in fact, map 1 came very close to being a full hold overall on point A for the side of Tornado.ROX. It actually came down to their Lucio got picked right sort of near the end of a fight where they did have a sound barrier up that they could otherwise be using.
Yes.
And because of that, they weren't able to match sound barrier with sound barrier. And the end result of that was that they lost the point, but still they had burned so much time off that they were able to go forward and end up holding anyways in streets. So it was overall a solid play from Tornado.ROX. It won on multiple levels, but biggest one of note, definitely Buho's outstanding Zarya play.
Yeah, and then Genji later on just happened to, on attack, actually get a ton of work done, and everything, yeah, gotta say, Grape and Nalar, again, still just the shining, examples here for what Tornado.ROX can actually do. There's Nalar with those string of headshots that we saw earlier on, and Aang actually did really well on the Reaper and Winston. We saw moments of brilliance from him on both characters. Gatekeepers did put up a much better fight this time around, though. They actually had a few moments where they were just kind of crushing through, and overall, though, I still think that Tornado.ROX did not crush Gatekeepers enough for me to give them too much hope in this next match.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Aang as well, worth noting on Kings Row, he also played the arguably support DPS role where he was doing a good job of pulling people out of the way with Reaper so that Nalar could shine on McCree as well. There were several occasions where you look at that and you go, well, he's not really getting the kills in the kill feed, but McCree's following up with double or triple kills off the back of that while everyone's distracted. And I thought he did a very good job of that on the first map.
And here's Grape. Here's that infamous pin that never happened. Well, Grape was able to get more sword slashes out of it, got Shozy with it, got a dash reset. Eventually, Claus went down, or sorry, not Claus, Aki went down. Claus being the Reinhardt for a different team, of course. Mistakes, Transcendence coming out there, and that just sealed the deal. There was no way that Gatekeepers was going to get through that. So well played again to Tornado.ROX, showing that they're not just the walkover team that we saw yesterday. FaZe was a very tough opponent, of course.
Yeah, a number of strong players on Tornado.ROX. We saw Enlar making some big plays on Kings Row, couple triples with his McCree there, and that play carried over into Numbani. And I feel like there was a moment on Numbani where they maybe got too excited. Enlar took a couple times where he went ahead of his team, tried to get the snipes in the back, and paid for it a little bit. But they were ultimately able to pull it together on their defense of Numbani. So ZP, any more thoughts on that?
One thing I will say in defense of the Gatekeepers here, where they did have some really good moments, is that Gatekeepers was able to go forward and have better tank play. You take a look at what Cheradormi does. There was a point in Streets Face Numbani where he was able to come out and really bring some very top-quality Roadhog play, was able to get early picks on the Buho, bring it forward from there, and stop pushes on his own. And also, as far as tank play goes, Aki actually had some really good moments as Reinhardt too, where he would pick 2-3 people in a big team fight as Reinhardt. So the tank play was sort of not outstanding, but the stand out for Gatekeepers in a game where not everything else was going right. I feel like if they had a little bit more support from their DPS, they might have actually been able to take Numbani.
Yeah, worth talking about as well. We saw Cherry on the Roadhog and as well on a full map as Diva one side, and saw him doing a lot of damage as well as soaking up a lot. So really, really dynamic plays there from the tanks.
What do you think about the triple tank? Gatekeepers stuck to their guns with triple tank 3 out of the 4 rounds.
Yeah, I mean, triple tank is one of those things where, I mean, it's not too terrible, but I feel like it has trouble against the very higher end from time to time. It's... I don't really know what to think of it in general. It's sort of one of those things where it's like, well, you guys think of triple support when people are running that a little bit more often. It works better against, it seems like, the lower tier teams than it works against the absolute higher tier when put to the test.
Do you think it's almost a case where it's almost higher risk, higher reward? Because on Numbani, we saw a few cases where we had the triple tanks keeping everyone occupied, shielding Lally, and then all of a sudden you started to get those really great fights where Lally shone on his own as the sole DPS. But, of course, when you don't actually pull the trigger and you manage to get those good plays, you can start getting picked off one by one. And having that stamina doesn't do you any favors if you can't actually pick off the other team.
Well, you're also much more reliant on your DPS actually having huge plays. And Wally's an interesting case. He's probably the most adventurous DPS player I think we've seen in terms of just how far back he's going for flanks. Realistically, he hasn't had that much success on his, out in the middle of nowhere flank, so I'm not necessarily sure that is the right way for him to go, but it's been somewhat entertaining to watch nonetheless.
All right, well, we saw a great matchup there. TORNADO.ROX moving on, of course, to face against Rogue. That's going to happen right after this break.